and gentlemen.
Welcome to the show. It's Movie Wire time. Oh, the Movie Wire. Bring the firing squad. Bill, Justin. Give the finger or laugh or smile. It's time to find out. No more waiting. So here we go. The Sultan of Cinema. The gumshoe of review. Here is Justin Henson. Let's start the show. Let's go.
Welcome to the Movie Wire.
And welcome to this week's edition of the Movie Wire. I'm your host, Justin Henson, and welcome to the show. This week, we have 4 new movies to review, with 2 playing in theaters and 2 that are available to stream right now. This week on the show, Fear is the New Faith, and the follow-up to last year's film comes 28 years later, The Bone Temple. DeFang the Police in the new vampire flick, Night Patrol. On vacation, you're free to follow your heart in the Netflix original, People We Meet on Vacation. And finally, count the money, count it again, count on no one. Matt Damon and Ben Affleck star in another Netflix original, The Rip. We've got a lot to cover this week, so let's jump right in. Ready for my verdict? Let's get into it.
Out of the windows to watch a roar and a burst of flame.
The Movie Wire podcast.
We just need people like me.
The Wire.
And here we go.
A group of Miami cops discovers a stash of millions in cash, leading to distrust as outsiders learn about the huge siege, making them question who to rely on in the Netflix original, The Rip.
From the outside looking in, it seems simple. Seize the cash, count it, and turn it in.
Miami PD.
On the inside, it's different.
We had a Crime Stopper tip come in on this address.
Shit. There's $1.4 million in this bucket. I eyeball 14 more of those things. That's a $20 million rip. We gotta be smart right now. We gotta move this money, man.
Stay off the radios, no call outs.
What would you do with this? Just this. Everything.
You heard about the inside heist teams.
Yeah, cops playing robbers.
Need any help tonight, Lieutenant?
Nope. We didn't get a heads up about this. The longer we stay here, the dicier this shit gets.
Don't trust anyone.
All I know is what we do right now and who we talk to matters. You see that? P-I-G-S. You have 30 minutes to get out of the house. Is there anything that you've heard about him?
There's snitches in every division.
Watch your back.
Cover! Bitch! I'm breaking loose! I got the roof!
You want to steal this rip? Just say it out loud. You a snitch, Mike?
This is my crime scene. Let me run it.
They just gonna take the money?
Were you and Captain Velez close?
Tell me what's going on.
First off, back the fuck up.
You're not going anywhere without me.
You're not giving orders. I don't trust you right now, and that's a problem.
You should just take whatever money you want and walk away. Before this goes really bad for all of us.
Ben Affleck and Matt Damon reunite in this Netflix action thriller mystery where they play 2 Miami cops in a sanction called TNT, the Tactical Narcotics Team, where we see from the opening scene that a bust didn't go all to plan. Now, we rewind after the first scene to see what actually went down. The Rip was directed by Joe Carnahan, who directed Not Without Hope that I reviewed last week, which in comparison to both movies, this is the type of movie that Carnahan we can see his strength versus Not Without Hope that displayed his weakness. We can tell he is in his comfort zone when it comes to the characters in intimate settings, especially when surrounding crime. But not only that, but building a crescendoing stake in his dialogue and characters. Not Without Hope wasn't in his wheelhouse when it comes to building stakes, because when the main event happens early in the movie, we can see him struggle to have our characters do or say anything to have us wanting to care about the characters or even want to follow the characters. Here, Affleck and Damon alley-oop the sharp dialogue to not conquer the screen, but to have the supporting cast build upon the stakes. But this also leads to the flaw of the movie that I'll get into in just a little bit. This includes the other three detectives in the house, Mike, Numa, and Lolo, played by Stephen Yen, Tiana Taylor, Catalina Sandino Moreno, who take over a house owned by Desi, played by Sasha Kali. Now, Carnahan's screenplay plays almost like a contemporary Agatha Christie mystery, if she wrote about crooked cops and cartels. But we get this overhanging feeling of a dark and stormy night without the storm. Carnahan uses some smart lighting to emulate a storm, from police lights, warm orange glows of the street lights, to even the stream beam flashlights. What Carnahan builds is a setting that I have talked about before. It feels like a character in its own, where every room a character may enter is just a room, but it feels like it has meaning. Our cinematographer, Wami Aspera, who also did Not Without Hope, again shows his strength here. Even though I did call out some moments of awe in a couple shots in his last film of Not Without Hope. But I could almost hear our filmmakers look over the set and discuss, how do we make this set feel small but big enough to support suspicion and mystery? And they succeed here in one of the elements that make this a memorable movie. But this is, again, another prime example of all the elements making our cast look good and also hiding some of the film's flaws. Now, as I spoke to earlier, the writing does a good job at build when it needs to, but where the movie does falter is that Damon and Affleck, naturally in the Hollywood world in a movie, should have all eyes on them. But we lose a little bit of that fun, that mystery of feeling of suspicion when we don't get equal parts from our other cast members, especially our homeowner Desi, played again by Sasha Kali, who naturally, when the police are in a house filled with millions of dollars from the cartel, you stay quiet. But that doesn't mean we can't be smart with the dialogue to find ways to grow her where we get a satisfying result that the movie reaches for. Kali, we can tell, has a good performance she wants to give, but the movie doesn't allow her to spread her wings to add some depth to the character. We can tell with hints of a background she has. The movie doesn't allow her to spread her wings of that background, so it's tight-lived. The rip works hard to lead to something satisfying, but by the time it wanders too far in the field, it realizes it's too late to turn back, and it feels like just an ending, not a satisfying one. If Carnahan stuck to a mystery at top of mind, with a focus at the suspicion of our group of cops, and stuck to that as motivation, without bouncing back and forth from character to character to gain knowledge about our group of cops, this would have led to a much more intriguing third act. The rip, we can tell, is an attempted nod at old-fashioned mysteries while capturing gritty dialogue-driven crime dramas. But while attempting to balance both, we realize it faces an identity crisis by the time we reach the final act. Now, one of the things I'll mention that I can appreciate is the natural chemistry that Affleck and Damon share. Their relationship from off-screen really does translate to a believability on screen. The performances are solid, but the one thing, I have to mention it, the one thing that drove me nuts as a distraction is the two seem to be having a beard growing contest on screen. It almost feels like they've had a side bet on who can have a better on-screen beard presence. Even in some moments, we can see Affleck slowly lift his chin to the camera, demanding the viewer to admire his full beard, waving it back and forth. And then we have Damon, who does almost the opposite, which he knows he has no competition to Affleck, and almost cowers his beard away from the camera at times in shy retreat. I don't think Matt is used to performing with a beard, and his body language shows that.
And he had one thing you haven't got.
What's that, sir?
A great big bushy beard.
Anyway, back to the actual relevancy of the film. The Rip holistically is a movie that looks good with some great performances, but I wish would have given us more from the entire cast versus a Damon and Affleck show. But for what the movie is trying to be, it's mostly successful. The first act hooks, the second act intrigues, but then we miss the follow-through of what made the first two acts engaging. But nevertheless, it was an entertaining watch, especially for Netflix. I'm giving The Rip 3 stars, and Ben Affleck's beard 3.5 stars, and Matt Damon's beard 0 stars.
Matt Damon.
In the follow-up to last year's 28 Years Later, Spike is inducted into Jimmy Crystal's gang on the mainland. Dr. Kelson makes a discovery that can alter the world in 28 Years Later, the Bone Temple.
This is a memorial to the dead.
So, was this all you're doing?
It is.
Are you Old Nick?
Old Nick? You mean Satan?
Yes. Old Nick released his demons unto the world of man. And the world of man fell before the demons.
I remember details, events, and people. The world had an order.
What's your name?
Spike?
No. I think your name is Jimmy.
The foundations. They seemed unshakable. When the infected attack, what do they see? I believe the infection can be treated. And now, a leap into the unknown.
Now, can a zombie movie that involves being decapitated, being burned alive, skinned alive, play out like a beautiful poem? Well, when the movie showed his fourth or fifth shot of a zombie penis, maybe six, I don't know, I lost count, and we see our returning Dr. Ian Kelson dancing with our alpha zombie Samson, played by Chi Lewis Perry, I said, yeah, of course it can. And my mind was confused in a good way, where I was tense of the presence of our zombies and what kill was going to happen next, and I was emotionally tense, hoping for a good outcome for our zombies, more specifically the Alpha Samson. Our director, Nia DaCosta, does a brilliant job at balancing the emotions but still ensuring the overall tension is always present. It's just a matter of how you process the tension that it presents. DaCosta, who is known for 2021's Candyman and the disastrous 2023 The Marvels, brings her A game here in her best directed film to date, where she approaches the Bone Temple with a different eye to see human nature first and zombies second, where if you're planning on just watching a movie with kill after kill, you will be greatly disappointed, but also strangely satisfied. We have very modest screen time with our zombies. We don't have a fleet of zombies attacking people, but the graphic gore, when it is present, makes up for the lack of kills and numbers. So gore fans, I think, will be satisfied. But this movie, you have to go with a certain expectation that this isn't just a horror movie. Because even when it comes to the gore, I even had to squirm in my seat and turn my head a couple of scenes. So the gore scenes and the kill scenes are memorable. But not all scenes are gore just to have gore. It's intended to snap the audience to attention, where we see more bloody violence from our Jimmy Crystal gang than we do our zombies, which goes into the messaging of the film. The Bone Temple starts right where 28 Years Later left us, and where we have Spike, played by Alfie Williams, get picked up by the Jimmies, led by Jimmy Crystal, played by Jack O'Connell. But to be part of the Jimmies, Spike needs to fight with one of the other Jimmies to the death to take his place, which leads to a brutal bleed-out scene that I will leave right there. The Bone Temple tells two separate stories. We have the journey of the Jimmies and their journey of murderous chaos. Then we have the story of Dr. Ian Kelson, again played by Ralph Fiennes, who finds a way to tame the alpha zombie, or should I say pump him full of drugs, with the motive to research the infected but also find meaning in current life. The two stories, of course, intertwine by the time we get to the climax. What is beautiful in Alex Garland's screenplay, and his best screenplay to date, may I add, is that he takes advantage of every moment with our characters to show that humanity can be more evil, instead of making a monster movie about humanity is good versus monsters bad that are evil. It's a movie that doesn't beg for your attention. It doesn't beg to have you think about the movie. It naturally allows the viewer to process it. The characters are engaging, but also, even during quiet moments where the film kind of allows the audience to digest what's happened so far, the film pumps a soundtrack that complements the mental rest with encouragement of what we should be thinking. It's full of emotion, danger, and the sound editing to this movie is at top notch. Our composer, Hildur Gardenotter, brings a unique hypnotic score that makes even the quiet moments feel tense or sweet. This is a score that acts as a mother grabbing your ear as a kid to guide you to where they want you to go. It's a beautiful and hypnotic score. The Bone Temple knows it has a lot for the viewer to digest, and if you watch it correctly, as our filmmakers know you have to, is we have to have moments to just have silence with music running in the background to really take in what's being presented. And our director is smart with this strategy because there is a lot of interpretation to take from this film, but holistically for me, broken down to one word: meaning. And however you want to tie that into your interpretation, meaning in belief, meaning in humanity, meaning in life. Is there even a meaning to good versus evil when everybody shows an evil side at some point? We have a scene where we take our Dr. Ian Kelson, who talks with our satanic cult leader Jimmy Crystal, where Kelson is at his bone temple covered in red iodine, making him look like the devil, where Jimmy thinks he is Old Nick, aka Satan. And the two tackle topics from religion to what the world was like before the apocalypse, reminding the viewer that most of the characters were either not born or were just little kids when the world came to an end, with Kelson talking about personal computers, shops, and the world having order, in which at one point during the brief quiet moments I thought to myself, I could listen to these two talk for the entire runtime, because it focuses around perspective and civil dialogue against two contrasting characters and two contrasting backgrounds, which made me think even in a world that has seen the end and without order, an atheist and a Satanist can sit and talk about their background and what once was. There is bigger messaging that Garland's screenplay inserts throughout the movie to make one's mind forced to dissect this film right away, but not just forced, want to, encouraged to. And this is one of the brilliant sides of the film, that when we walk out of the theater, we're not just saying how cool a kill was, but rather gives us something to think about and take apart well after the movie is finished. A piece of cinema that works as a mental puzzle that the more you think about it, the more you see beauty in it, and not just an end-of-the-world zombie movie that you shrug off after leaving the theater. From the script, the cinematography, music, performances, everything works in unison here to create an experience for the eyes, ears, and mind. The Bone Temple leads up the messaging and moments to a climax that's not only satisfying, but a perfect exclamation mark to ensure it again will stay with you well after the credits roll. But the movie does leave some unanswered questions that I won't give away here. But for some viewers, it may lead to some frustration for those that want loose ends tied up. But as in life, we don't always get what we want. And if Garland's script did find the need to answer all these questions, for me, I would have been disappointed. Because when we look at the overhanging message of anarchist or tribalism, if you will, with Kelson as a symbol of peace to make the world better, these two stories are important to show how fragile society can be, and we can't just have all the answered questions, and having answered questions would contradict Garland's script. 28 years later, the Bone Temple for some might not be their cup of tea, especially if you're expecting a full-on zombie movie without substance. The substance overpowers the screen in beauty even between the decapitations and bloody gore. It still finds a way to allow the message and beauty of life shine through the anarchy. This is another prime example to show how the elements in filmmaking just all work together, and it's beautiful. And what a way to kick off the first month of 2026. I'm giving 28 years later, The Bone Temple.
No kidding. We got one!
4 stars.
Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby.
Now, before we get into the rest of the show, make sure you check out my reviews for movies that just became available to rent, buy, or stream now.
Now available on video cassette.
Are you ready for another SpongeBob movie? You should be. For the SpongeBob movie, search for SquarePants. That surprised me with the amount of heart a SpongeBob movie can have to receive 3 stars. Brendan Fraser plays a washed-up actor who is hired to play a father to a little girl. And one of the best movies of the year is Rental Family. That is true cinematic soul food, receiving 4 stars. Inspired by a legend, bound by a dream. Our filmmakers may have had a dream, but it definitely didn't inspire in Song Sung Blue, that received 2 stars. First Hunt, Last Chance in Predator Badlands, which was a fun addition to the lore without showing us all the cards. Quite yet, receiving 3 stars. But for the love of God, please no more PG-13 Predator movies. An epic World War II thriller based on true events in Nuremberg, with Russell Crowe and Rami Malek stealing the show to receive 3 stars. Anyone can survive 5 nights. This time there will be no second chances. And hopefully this doesn't get a third chance in Five Nights at Freddy's 2 that received 1.5 stars. You can only choose one in eternity. That is a true journey of self-reflection and takes the viewer on the journey with it, receiving 3.5 stars. Unlock the illusion that we really needed a sequel to this, and Now You See Me, Now You Don't, that received 2 stars. Survive 30 days while the world hunts you down in the remake to the 1987 film, The Running Man, that really didn't make me run away, receiving 3 stars. And I still hate Glenn Powell. When they took his family, he took revenge. In Sisu, Road to Revenge, that is just as good as the first, if not a little better, receiving 3.5 stars. Worlds will collide when there's no going back in Tron Ares, that had enough entertainment value versus disappointment to receive 3 stars. Forgotten but not gone in the tragic true story of Broadway legend Lawrence Hart, that will fill a Broadway thirst with a fantastic performance from Ethan Hawke in Blue Moon, that received 3.5 stars. Risk everything, regret nothing, and regretting you, that will make you full of regret spending the time and or the money, and studios will probably have regret of hiring the editor, writer, and director here, receiving 2 stars. There's smarter life out there in the universe, including our filmmakers that created Bulgaria, that received 3 stars. Some search for battles, others are born into it in one battle after another, which is a prime example of all filmmaking elements working together in unison to receive 4 stars. You'd be so proud of her in Shelby Oaks, but not proud of the filmmaking here that really need to figure its shit out to receive 2 stars. Need a miracle? You got it when Keanu Reeves plays an angel, and he is adorable in A Good Fortune, that received 3 stars. He robbed 45 McDonald's, escaped from prison, lived in a Toys R Us for 6 months, and that's not even the craziest part. The craziest part is that we can tell that Channing Tatum wasn't a Toys R Us kid in Roofman, that received 1.5 stars. Dead is just a word. We told you not to talk to strangers in The Black Phone 2, that for an unnecessary sequel, this one actually got it right, receiving 3 stars. The unforgettable true story of UFC legend Dwayne Johnson stars in The Smashing Machine, which couldn't find its way to 3 stars, just receiving 2.5 stars. Who's a good movie? Who's a good movie? And Good Boy, which had a good dog, good premise, good filmmaking to receive 3 stars. And finally, the task is simple. Walk or die in the Stephen King adaptation of The Long Walk. That was pretty thrilling for a movie about walking to receive 3 stars. You can check out those reviews of my previous episodes, and while you do, don't forget to hit follow or subscribe, and please don't forget to leave a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Now, before we get into the last set of reviews, there is a podcast that is my go-to each and every week, and that is with my friend Dan over at the Gaming Views podcast. Make sure to check out Dan from head to toe, and then check out his podcast. The link to his show will be in the description of this episode. But let's hear from the Gaming Views podcast now.
Welcome to the trailer for Gaming Views. Think of it as the demo level before the real action kicks off.
We're Dan, and every week we're bringing hot takes, breaking news, deep dives, and everything gaming related.
From the biggest headlines to retro classics, hardware breakdowns, and inside scoops on developers, we cover it all.
So level up your gaming knowledge, subscribe to Gaming Views wherever you get your podcasts, and don't miss out.
Poppy wants to explore the world, and Alex prefers to stay at home with a good book. But somehow they are very best friends. They live far apart, but for a decade they have spent 1 week a summer vacationing together. In the Netflix original, People We Meet on Vacation.
Alex! Come here.
Honey, Alex is here. Ta-da!
Are those condoms?
I just want you to be safe, that's all.
How many times do I have to tell you? Alex and I are just friends, so we don't need condoms. And we definitely don't need 500. Because we're not an army. Please stop. Okay, Wanda?
On vacation, you can be anyone you want.
Who wants to go skinny dipping?
Alex does not.
Maybe vacation Alex does.
That's why I want to travel. You can actually be who you want to be instead of who they say you are.
How about every summer, wherever we are, we meet somewhere in the world for a trip?
Deal.
Beignets on the House of the Lovebirds.
Thank you.
No.
Hey! What a coincidence. We just got hitched too. So sweet.
Congratulations, you two.
Will you tell me once again?
I told you.
How we're gonna be just friends?
Come on, vacation, Alex. Is that the best you got?
Okay, you asked for this.
Oh my God.
I'm gonna pick you up on the condition that you don't call me Seabiscuit.
How did you know that I'd really want to do that?
Because I know you.
Poppy, you take vacations for a living. Make me burn with jealousy for your carefree, jet-setting life.
But I mean, don't you ever find travel a little lonely?
I'm here. I'll always be here.
Sorry.
What was that?
I'm just confused.
What am I to you?
You're my friend. I do not deserve you.
I know.
My best friend.
Alex, I think it's called settling.
You live in a fantasy land, always running away to new places, new connections.
Maybe the universe is giving me a sign.
That's a heck of a girl.
You know, in movies, a friendship is never a friendship between a girl and a guy. They end up hooking up, getting into a relationship, or getting married. Never in the cliche moments of filmmaking in movies and cinema does a movie just have a man and woman stay friends. And if there was a movie that proves we should have one, this would be it. You know, I have had a female best friend for going on close to 30 years, and never did the thought of a relationship, marriage, or hooking up come to a conversation. To the point she was one of my grooms at my wedding. The idea of a man and a woman just can't be friends is false. And in Hollywood, it seems that the only way a man can be a best friend to a girl is if we stereotype a character and make him gay. People We Meet on Vacation is based on the book by Emily Henry that follows the same tropes we have seen from every single rom-com, every situation we have seen from a romantic formula, where the Hollywood gods put two individuals in certain situations so they can either be alone together, maybe in a hotel, they will feel heartbreak with other lovers, and of course the awkward situation of seeing one or both without clothes. The main difference here is that with People We Meet on Vacation holds the emotional poker face throughout the entire movie and allows the situations to play out, with hints through flashback phone calls and vague dialogue to signal to the audience that there is a lot more to this relationship. And honestly, the romantic poker face works a lot of the times, which might throw some viewers off. In the moment situations, we don't get the cliche looks of disappointment when seeing one with another love. We don't get sexual tension when they're in a hotel room. The moments as friends are well utilized by this also can be riding against the current to what fans of the genre want. Emily Batter plays our Poppy character, who is a ball of energy who ends up traveling the world and writing about her vacation, who befriends Alex when they were off to college. The movie attempts to say the opposite attract, but if we don't know the synopsis of the movie prior and the 3 to 4 hints throughout the movie, we wouldn't have an expectation of where this movie was going to go, because it holds its hints and conflict until the last 30 or so minutes of the film. But this also leads to a climax that mildly feels unearned, but mainly because we don't know much about our Alex character. The movie mainly focuses on Poppy because she is the driver of the story, but Alex is merely treated as just a prop, with no added personality, no reason for him to be there other than being the main reason to give Poppy a happy ending. We learned nothing about Alex other than he is structured, safe, is committed to his relationship outside of Poppy, along with willing to try something new, and loves the place he grew up. He, in some eyes, is the perfect guy. But we focus on Poppy, who the movie advertises who has the perfect life. A life of adventure. This is where the movie, when it comes to different lives, different perspectives, needed to forte itself and given us more of Alex. Because we get Poppy, a free spirit, but Alex we understand as mere situational and just a good guy. We have to have a layer of death for both characters to be invested in them, to be invested in what the outcome's gonna be. And with that said, to be perfectly honest, the movie has a lot of flaws and repetitive cliches, but it is a sweet movie that it intended to be. It's not like watching nails on a chalkboard when it comes to rom-coms. It is a good date night movie if you both have had 4 drinks or more. In a certain scene in the film, we have a moment where we have our Poppy character who is attempting to have sex with another free spirit hippie in a tent, and she decides to leave and see Alex, who is naked, covering his penis in an unfortunate skinny dipping accident. Ah, yes, the accidental skinny dipping situation in a rom-com. Haven't seen that before. This is the moment where I think Netflix has done their research that couples will be kind of done with this movie because they've seen it before. And to go from the Netflix and go right to the chill. Netflix knows what they're doing, especially with multiple plays of Paula Abdul's Forever Your Girl. It's feel-good music to artificially make us feel good with the film, which plays like the movie's theme song, which does feel appropriate when you look at the movie's view through Poppy. The movie is completely unbalanced, and our director, Brett Haley, has trouble really landing his stamp on how he wants these characters to act. But at least our Paranormal Activity next of kin actress, Emily Batter, does a decent enough job of being a force on screen to take control, to give us at least some entertainment value. And, you know, I have been back and forth with this film. Yes, it's another generic rom-com. Yes, it follows the same old tropes as any other movie that came before it. Yes, we have cliche characters, throwaway characters every 10 fucking minutes. But there are some sweet moments that don't treat this movie as angry. It doesn't treat it as the normal every situation has to lead to something, as we see from so many rom-coms. Even the ex that could be angry with Poppy shows no resentment. So there is a level of sweetness to it and a little bit of innocence where we don't have to have a movie about relationships show a little bit of anger, show a little bit of jealousy, and then end up as a happy ending. We don't get those tropes in this movie. But at the same time, that doesn't make it a good movie. This is a prime example of the saying Netflix and chill, where you can literally spend more time chilling than Netflixing and still find this movie entertaining in the moment. People we meet on vacation, if I spent money on, I would be pissed. But for a date night movie that's innocent enough and has enough enjoyment from our Poppy character and performances to say it's not a complete waste of time, but is still a waste of time. Another streaming rom-com that will be forgotten in time. I'm giving People We Meet on Vacation 2 stars. An LA cop discovers a local task force is hiding a secret that puts the residents of his childhood neighborhood in danger in Night Patrol.
When I was a kid, all I wanted to do was be a cop. I just thought it was the coolest thing. We're portrayed differently now. We're seen in a very negative light. Most of us are good, but there are a few bad apples out there.
Turn around and face the other way.
What is this? They shot your sister. I think it was Night Patrol.
You guys are special. I want to be a part of that. When are you going to let me in on the big secret around here?
You want in, Night Patrol? This is it.
What the f***? What did you do to me? They vampires.
Tonight, let's go. We show him how Night Patrol hunts. We bleed colonial courts dry. I heard what they were. I still didn't believe.
Y'all feel that? Coming for us next.
This is Night Patrol. We need to be ready.
Oh, yeah! Oh, yeah! Yeah. Oh,
Hey. This is a sacred night.
This is good versus evil.
We ain't going nowhere till we get some payback on that demon.
Is it demons? It could be lizard, man.
What? Yo, Trip, you bought them silver bullets?
Hold up, blood. That's werewolves, man. You tripping.
I ain't tripping no, I ain't tripping no.
Suck it.
Is it possible for a movie to have messaging that's so in your face, so apparent that it becomes no messaging at all and meaningless? Yes, because Night Patrol proves that. Justin Long and Jermaine Fowler star in Ryan Prowse' new film about tension between a black community and corrupt cops that are part of Night Patrol, that are symbolized by making the cops vampires. Now, I don't hate the idea. I don't hate the idea to lead to messaging. And without reading other reviews on the film, I can only bet some will be manipulated by current events to make this movie seem better than what it is, or again, make it a symbol of their own political statement. But this is a movie review, not a State of the Union address by the Movie Wire. So, as a reminder, all in all, politics aside, is this a good movie? And I have to say, I hated it. I hated almost. Let me clarify, almost every fucking moment of Night Patrol. I hated the cliche script. I hated the forced performances. I hated the attempt at comedy by using harsh language as a driver. I hated the confused direction. I hate the fact the film used a topic and did nothing with it other than a statement. Cops are bad. I hate that we didn't get a lot of background or substance of our non-cop characters to make us care on an outcome. And this is the biggest flaw of the film, is that the film wants to portray racism and corrupt cops, but we get no character development. We don't get the question of why. We get more finger pointing than we do having our script really deep dive into these characters that could have supported the horror, the thrills, and even at times some cheeky comedy that it sought out to do. This one tells the audience, you know what's going on, you fucking fill in the blanks. Instead, we get gore, we get guns, we get a majority of the dialogue setting up the climax to how our characters are going to fight versus this is why. If you're going to tell a message in film in times of a hot topic, you better bring your A game to make the viewer feel like they took something away from it. And Night Patrol is almost contradicting in the message it wants to tell. Why do we only get lines of dialogue to expand reasoning from our cops versus a more interesting concept from our Jermaine Fowler, who plays Xavier, and his mother, played by Nikki Michaud? The movie hints at intrigue in the background of our son and mother, but just drops us into this world where vampires exist as cops. And even our vampire cops leaves questions on the table. There is background on both sides of the story that feel more interesting than just having a gore fest in between cliche lines and forced performances that add nothing to the messaging. The movie uses just hot topics and mere authority and skin color and tells the audience, you know what we're going for. You can fill in the blanks, which is absolutely annoying. That is not enough. Because this movie had an hour and 40 minutes with an extremely talented cast that Ryan Prowse just merely wastes, especially with Freddie Gibbs that plays almost a conspiracy theorist that never really expands his character or substance of the character. This is a character that almost separates the heavy topics, but as we get to the climax, this is a character we feel we needed more of to really help the viewer decide what kind of movie this wanted to be. And again, we run into the problem of all these characters needed more background. All Night Patrol does is throws into mindless situations with a script by Tim Cairo, Jake Gibson, and Shea Abadana that doesn't know how to express themselves without ugly language and swear words that never feel necessary because the script doesn't give us any substance to support the messaging. Now, I said I hated almost every moment. Again, let me tell you what does work. The last 20 minutes works. It visually is appealing, and even though the movie we have moments of style, but this is nowhere enough to save the film. There is a scene, for example, where we have our mother and son running in slow motion, and this was the point where I couldn't tell if this was a comedy element of it or was just shot extremely bad. My gut is telling me shot extremely bad because Ryan Prowse has a style about him when it comes to capturing scenes of just dialogue in a group setting that's actually done fairly well. But when it comes to capturing chaos or characters in panic, this is not his forte. Any scene he shoots that's supposed to amplify conflict or panic with our characters falls flat. It becomes comical and feels like he's trying to take a moment of banding together or something to loosen the mood and just makes it look silly. And you know, if that's the movie's intent, and we do get moments that we feel this shouldn't be taken seriously because we don't go into depth of the heavy topics. And again, if that's the intent, all fine and dandy, but we need to pick a balance. We need to feel like there is a balance. Prowse is trying to create a mood for something the script doesn't intend for. The last 20 minutes of the movie tells us we should have gotten more from Jermaine Fowler and Mickey Madhu, which is a shame because we can tell there's a better movie within those two characters and their background to lead to more than just a visually appealing climax than what we got. Night Patrol is a movie that some might find some appeal for, but for me, I don't get it, and I just ended up shaking my head in pure annoyance of what this movie could have been. If there's some actual thought put into the script with proper use of our talented cast, we would have had something. It has characters and talent that deserve so much better. It has been a while since I've been annoyed so much by a movie. And you know, I'm not mad. I'm disappointed. No, actually, I'm pretty fucking pissed. This movie sucks. I'm giving Night Patrol a solid 1 star.
And that's a cut on this week's edition of The Movie Wire. I want to thank you for listening and thank you for your support. You can also show support by following me on Instagram, Blue Sky, X, Thread, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, and Letterboxd at Movie Wire Show. And please don't forget to leave a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. And if you haven't yet checked out the Cult-Worthy Cinema Podcast and the Movie Wire's crossover show, Back to the Balcony, make sure you do. Again, the link of that show will be in the description of this episode. Until next week, do me a favor. Make sure you stay for after the credits to show the respect to those that put their blood, sweat, and tears into making a feature film and support your local movie theaters.
Thank you for bringing me to the movies.
Let the credits roll. We say farewell. Join us next time. We'll have more tales to tell.